Hey, welcome to Mr. Inky Fingers. Let's grab a pen and put some ink to work. Let's roll. This is a sweet pen. I got one today. This is Asvine, and it's the J16, kind of a more recent model that came out. Thing about this pen that makes it especially cool is it comes with a Jowo nib and a Bach nib, and you can choose. I chose the Jowo nib for this one. This is a piston filler, another thing that makes this pen cool. Pen does unscrew, and then we have this section revealed. Kind of reminds me almost like a Leonardo, and I'm going to tell you why that's important in a moment. Does have the ink window. Okay, and yeah, pretty good pen. I mean, the piston works really well, very smooth. Does hold a decent amount of ink. Now, what did I do? Oh, and finally, the cool thing is it posts and not too big. That's pretty awesome. Thing I like about this pen, I got the, well, the nibs are interchangeable. So what I did with this one is I took, and they come with a number 6 size nib, because it came with a Jowo. I did unscrew the nib unit. The nib was good. It wasn't the best, but it was good and certainly usable. If you're just writing and doing, text writing or, letters or whatever, it's perfectly fine. But I had an extra Leonardo nib laying around, a medium, and I thought, well, let me just swap that in there. And I did. And as you can see, it comes right out. And I dropped a Leonardo number 6 nib in here. So the nibs are interchangeable in every pen, really. What makes this pen cool is how it feels. It's weighted perfectly balanced. Even when I post it, you feel a little bit of weight in the back, but you just hold it up a little bit higher and it's not bad. So definitely not bad enough to where I want to not use it. But certainly if you don't, the size is perfectly well unposted and absolutely well balanced. So you do feel it when it's posted, just be aware of that, but it's not terrible. Smoothly unscrews, no noise. Love it. Great pen, love it, great size. We're going to draw with this one today, and this is the brushed finish, and I believe it comes with sort of a very, gloss finish metal. But yeah, the brushed one was pretty cool. And I like the brush because it has, even though the section is, it's not too slippery because it has that brush finish, so it's perfect. I prefer the real plastic finishes, but this one was great. So I highly recommend this pen. If you're looking at the J16, it's great for the collection. Super quality. I mean, again, Asvine typically puts out, as they come along, more and more quality pens. So I definitely recommend it. Check out the Asvine J16. We're going to do some writing with it now and see how it performs on paper. Yeah, it's a Leonardo nib, but I just want to talk about the balance and how it feels in the hand, because again, the Jowo nib they threw in there was pretty standard, and it didn't have any decoration on it. So, I mean, quite frankly, the nib was good. It's usable. You could certainly keep it. But the cool thing about this is you can exchange nib units and put anything in there that's a number 6 nib. So let's get to the table. Let's get to drawing and see how it. All right, here we go. I got to tell you, I was really surprised for this pen when I got it. There was a little bit of a hype about it, and again, I'm a pretty big fan of Asvine. But when I got this one, really, I mean, build quality was solid. The nib is great, that I have in there now, which is the Leonardo. It did come with a Jowo nib. It was okay. There was really nothing necessarily wrong with it. This Leonardo nib was just smoother, and I had an extra nib. And it is interchangeable since it's a number 6. So could have kept using it. It would have been fine. In my opinion, the Leonardo nib thrown in there just makes it even better. So you've got a really solid body construction, piston filler, and you know what? And we just threw in a really another awesome nib in there. So it's a win-win. You could put any nib in there. But as far as like the balance and the quality of the pen as you're holding it, it's fantastic. I mean, it's great. So I have nothing negative to say about the pen. There was one thing that I noticed, and again, this could just be a QC issue, quality control, and it is on the cap. The clip is screwed on the top, so there's that little button on the top it screws on and off, and then if you can screw that little piece off, and then you can lift the clip out. It was loose. Now I could easily tighten it, and it's tightened. It hasn't come loose since. I don't think it's a failure necessarily. It operates perfectly fine. I can, so I don't know if anybody else had that issue. So if somebody did, that'd be cool. If you could share it if you're watching this and you have it. Again, not a big deal. It's that's probably the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to come off. So I guess if you need it to. But that was it. I mean, honestly, there's really nothing wrong with the pen. It's got a great balance. It posts. I can't complain about that. The feed is great. That it came with. But again, I mean, nothing necessarily negative, but I had that extra nib unit, so I threw it in there. I love the amount of ink it holds in the reservoir, when you're piston filling it. It's great, no complaints. And I just think the aesthetic's really cool. They have the shiny gloss version of the pen, and then they have a matte. I got I'm happy with what I got. You had your choice there. So I like it. I like the pen. It's shiny, but it's got sort of these. It's not brushed, but it has sort of a brushed kind of feel to it. So it's not slippery at all. So I love the pen. If I think with Asvine, they're starting to get a little bit pricey. Either A, this was their plan all along, or B, get people hooked on it, or B, their quality just has come along, and supply and demand. They're seeing that a lot of people are buying their product, so maybe that's why. But either way, if there was a Chinese brand that was going to up their price, obviously I would say Asvine. That makes sense. Hopefully it doesn't get too out of control, and they maintain a reasonable price point for their pens. Again, no complaints. Pen is really cool. If you're in the market though, and you're like, again, I think I said this before, if you're a first-time fountain pen, or you're really new, and you want a quality pen, again, you can get some of these Chinese pens and beat them up and then not feel too bad, right? You can spring a nib, or break something, I guess. I don't know how you would, but on this one, but you can fool around with it, and you're not going to really cry because you didn't pay hundreds of dollars or something for the pen. Get used to it, see what you like, and then you can venture out into more expensive options. I really, there are less expensive versions than this one, right? That you can get, that I recommend. But if you do want a solid pen, the cool thing, it does come with that Yovo nib, and you don't need to switch it out. The fact that I did that wasn't a condemnation on the nib that it came with. It was just a blah nib, very standard. It was a Yovo nib. Again, wasn't scratchy. It didn't have any issues. I just like my Leonardo, so I threw it in there. So that was just more of a personal preference. But you can use the same nib and be perfectly fine with it. So I highly recommend it. I think it's great. I had to take a break here from drawing for a minute, and then come back. There was the change in the lighting there a little bit, but yeah, so even with the original, and I'll say this because you're not seeing it with the original, I guess, you can see how wet this nib is. It's not overly wet. It's not sopping through the other side of paper or even really ghosting much, which is interesting considering how wet it was laying down ink, or as much ink as it was laying down. It wasn't, necessarily pooling and not drying. It was just on the wetter side, and the on the original nib it was the same thing. And usually that always just boils down to number one, the feed, and then number two, how the nib is set on the feed. Are the tines spread apart? Are they just letting off too much ink? There's a combination of the fin, or the feed and the nib that's going to determine how much ink is let out, how wet or dry the pen is. So I can't say it's the body of the pen. Obviously, it's not doing that. But if you do get this pen, I can say, at least with the original nib, that it was a little bit on the wet side. For drawing purposes, it just meant that you just needed to wait a second or two before, a second, maybe 10 seconds or 15 seconds before you brought your hand up and rubbed the ink again. Then you avoid the smearing issue. But again, you're drawing with fountain pens. This ink doesn't draw instantaneously either. Maybe there is some. I haven't tried them. I've been through so many fountain pen inks. I haven't tried really the bulletproof ones. Maybe they do dry pretty quickly. I don't know. But the ones that I use, obviously, that I've been using, the water-based stuff, it just takes a minute. Some dry quicker than others, and it also comes down to how much ink is being let out. Look at that shine on that ink coming out. There's fewer things more beautiful than that, in my opinion, when it comes to writing. That ink is just wet on the page, shining. It's cool. Yeah, I don't want to really draw on go on too long about it, but I would say this pen has 2 thumbs up from me. So if you're really looking to get into the fountain pen hobby, or you are a hobbyist and you love pens, man, I really go get this pen if you haven't done it yet. You'll be surprised. I would push this one up against some of the more expensive steel nibbed pens out there, well-known name brands. You can spend hundreds of dollars, or you can spend, what was this, less than 100 for sure, and get a pen that's very comparable, if not better, than a more expensive pen. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. It has a little bit of weight, as I mentioned before. It is a metal pen, but it's not like this thing's weighing your hand down. You're not gonna, unless you're extremely weak in your arm, your hand, you're going to complain and your hand's going to fall down because it's a metal pen. No, it's I don't know, maybe some people have issues with their grip. That's possible. Yeah, they do have some people with carpal tunnel and all that stuff. I'm not talking about those people. If you have hand issues or, tendon issues or whatever, but if you have a normal hand and you're writing, you're not going to really feel the weight. I can at least, with a clear conscience say that, I think, comfortably. So, not too heavy. And obviously I could hold it for an hour or more and be perfectly fine with it. So anyways, back to this, 2 thumbs up on this pen. Highly recommend it. If you do own the pen and you've had a QC issue with it, anything, leave a comment. If you have great experience with it, leave a comment. I've gotten some feedback and messaging from some folks on some of the pens that I've done, and they came back with their opinions and stuff, and I think it's super helpful, for other people who. And I know when I got into the hobby again many years ago, there were a few reviewers out there doing it, and I think maybe there was Yeah, I don't know. There was a few, and I would go to them and see their opinion. But now there are so many people out there reviewing fountain pens. You can really get a ton of different perspectives on things. And again, a lot of fountain pen usage is very personal. For one person may have an opinion on a pen, and it may be completely different than another person. So, take that with a grain of salt when you're doing this. When you're watching videos on pens like this to get an opinion. But anyways, damn, I definitely give this a 2 thumbs up. If you do have any comments, as I mentioned before, leave a comment below. If you made it this far in the video and you got something out of it, hey, listen, I'd really appreciate it if you throw a like on there and also subscribe. It'll help us grow and keep the channel growing and make more videos. All right. Hey, listen, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. And I'll catch you in the next one.